And we're live. What's going on, guys? A little bit of an upgrade here. Just keep working, keep grinding. I appreciate the support. I appreciate all the love. We have a stacked show tonight. Absolutely stacked show. There's so much happening in the sports world. Manny Pacquiao defeated Thurman, and now everyone's wondering, does this mean Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao too? There's Max Holloway's fighting this weekend. I have a couple fun ideas that I'm going to throw out at you guys towards the end of the show. Everyone does tiers, so I came out with my tiers for the NBA, and I've never seen a tier scheme with the MMA world. So I'm also doing a tier scheme with the MMA world, involving the MMA fighters, the different tiers, what they mean. So there's a lot to get into with this show, but I do want to start off with the football news. So we have Odell Beckham Jr., who's very outspoken, very flamboyant, very talented, and he had some things to say about my New York Giants, and he has some high expectations for himself as an individual playing for the Cleveland Browns, and then obviously he wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to win. He says he wants to win as much as Tom Brady. And then we also have Ezekiel Elliott holding out. Well, he may hold out. He's reports out of the country, and then training camp starting. So there's a bunch of just so much news going on in sports. I'll start off with the NFL before I get to the combat world and my tiers. I'll say this. So I'm a New York Giants fan. I think we are attached with Eli Manning, and I think we're obsessed with what people think about our team, our franchise, and we are absolutely obsessed with our persona and our image to what we mean to everyone else. And I think it's absurd, and I think it's silly, and I think it's cost us. Eli Manning is way past his prime. Any well-run franchise, any well-run management would have gotten rid of Eli by now. It's just at that point in his career where it's time to move on from Eli Manning. It's happened. It's been at that point for quite some time. But for some reason, the Giants just cannot move on from Eli because they know how beloved Eli Manning is to the franchise, to the fans, to the New Yorkers. He is a New York Giant. But what I think they're failing to understand is just because you move on from Eli Manning, like every franchise has to do with an aging quarterback, that doesn't mean that you don't love him or appreciate what he's done. You can appreciate what he's done and still move on. That's just a part of life. It's the part of sports. What, do they expect just to have Eli Manning for life? It doesn't work that way. He's past his prime, so they come out with this report, and there's no competition. Yeah, Eli Manning is our starting quarterback. So why'd you get Daniel Jones, the quarterback from Duke? Why did you get Daniel Jones? You obviously saw something in Daniel Jones. So why did you get him if there's no competition? Now, if there's a competition and Eli Manning wins it, and you think he's the legitimate starter for the New York Giants come the start of the season, then okay. But just no competition? Competition is healthy. And this is why the Giants have been struggling, and that's why they'll continue to struggle, is they're so obsessed with what people think about them, they don't make the right move on the field. They don't make the right move on the field. And it's so frustrating from a Giants fan perspective. And I'm pretty sure most Giants fans feel this way. You can love and appreciate Eli. He's won you Super Bowls. I get it. But at some point, you have to move on. The Patriots will move on from Brady. People moved on from Favre. People moved on from Peyton Manning. The better Manning. It's time to move on. I don't know why the Giants are so obsessed with what people think of them. But when you start winning games, people will think more of you. Because right now, they're a poorly run franchise. If you can't move on from Eli Manning when it's clearly time, and now the quarterback that you just drafted in the first round, there's no competition for that spot, come on now. Come on now. That's just silly. That's just silly. I'm a happy fan, though, because I have the Lakers. I have the Yankees. So I'm happy. I'm happy, but I'm not happy with the Giants. I'm not happy with the Giants. We also have Odell Beckham Jr., like I said earlier. So he has high expectations, and he spoke on the New York Giants, and it wasn't a good fit for him at all. You can clearly see he was unhappy. And I have no issue whatsoever with Odell speaking about it. No issue whatsoever. That's Odell's brand. He's very outgoing, very flamboyant. He's an entertainer. He loves to have people asking him questions. He's a fan guy. He loves it. He is one of those players who does not shy away from the fame. He embraces it and encourages it. So it doesn't surprise me that he had a comment on it. And when people ask you questions, you have answers. And he's not shy. He's not shy whatsoever about his answer. It was time for him to move on from the Giants. And the Giants lost their biggest star. And now I understand Eli Manning is the starting quarterback of the Giants, but Odell Beckham Jr. was the biggest star in New York. He was the biggest star. And I think he fits in Cleveland. I think they're going to be very good very fast. But I don't think it's a long-term success. I'm not a Browns hater whatsoever. I like Baker Mayfield. I'm more of a Sam Darnold guy. But it reminds me of leaving something on the stove on high. And yeah, it's going to cook really fast. We're not questioning if it's going to cook. We know it's going to cook fast, but is it sustainable? Will it get burnt? And I think it will. I think there's a lot of egos, a lot of personality, a lot of talent, and that's why I think it will work. Baker Mayfield's extremely accurate. Odell Beckham Jr. is a once-in-a-lifetime type of talent. But I think when everything's going good, there's a lot of optimism, a lot of hope. Of course, people are going to get along. But you see the true colors through adversity, through the negative energy, through the losing. That's when you start to see the details. That's when you start to see the true feelings and emotions and opinions. And Odell doesn't like to lose. I mean, no one really likes to lose, but I don't think he handles it particularly well. Baker Mayfield has an ego of his own. He's very responsive to the media. I don't think they win a Super Bowl right away, and I don't think it works long term. I think it's going to be very flashy, very fun, because you have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent on this roster. It's very exciting for Cleveland Brown fans. I would be a happy Cleveland Brown fan if I were one, but I don't think it's a long-term success, and I don't think it fits long-term. So I think it will be flashy. It will have flashes of greatness. Won't last long-term. Won't last long-term. We also have Ezekiel Elliott holding out, and my initial reaction is, I get it. Like, I understand. With the running back, you don't have that long of a shelf life. You're getting hit constantly, getting up, getting hit constantly, 1,500-yard run. Like, it's just a lot of wear and tear on those tires. So I understand, get your money while you can, because you're not in this business forever. So you want to make that generational wealth while you can, while you're healthy, while you still have the ability to receive as much money as possible. And I will never discourage a player to do it. But when you have a player in Ezekiel Elliott's position, where he has had a lot of instances off the field, the legal issues, and Jerry Jones has always had his back. You have Amari Cooper, you have Dak Prescott. These guys are not worried about their contract as much as Ezekiel Elliott. They want to focus on the football, not as much noise. Ezekiel Elliott he's another outgoing guy. He's obviously, now I'm not whatsoever questioning his impact on the field, because the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott do need Ezekiel Elliott. But I think he needs to just focus on getting back on track, have a great year. You will get your money. Jerry Jones will take care of you. Jerry Jones looks after his players. He looks after his players. And in the league right now, where running backs they have a short lifespan, and right now everyone's throwing the football. It's never been easier for the quarterbacks. Paying a running back, people have doubts. People have questions. We've seen replacements succeed in those star roles, depending on the system. So for Ezekiel Elliott, I get it, but let's just move on. Let's play. You'll get your money. You'll get your money. So yeah, a lot of NFL going down. I know you guys have a couple questions for me. Man, I want to get into the combat sports world. It was just on fire this weekend, and you guys have been blowing up my phone with questions and interacting, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely appreciate it. And so Pacquiao defied the odds once again. At 40 years of age, defeats Thurman, and it's very impressive. And it's for the people that say, he showed signs of being older and he lost a couple rounds. Guys, he's 40 years old. 40 years old. And I have a question, and I'll get to this one right away since I'm talking about it. Do you think Floyd Mayweather fights him? My answer is no. Pacquiao is extremely intelligent. Yes, he may be 40 years old. Yes, he should show signs of slowing down. He's not in his prime anymore. So for the people that are bashing Pacquiao for He is showing his age, or some people say he looks fantastic. He does look fantastic. At 40 years of age, this is impressive. He just beat it undefeated in his prime Thurman. And he picks and chooses his spots extremely wisely. He understands his body. He understands when to push it, when to let his foot off the gas. He understands these things. He's an experienced and very smart boxer. He understands where he needs to hold back, when to be aggressive, volume, efficiency. These are things that you don't just get. It's over time, it's experience, and it's an all-time boxing type of trait. But this is why I don't think the fight ever happens. So the first fight, obviously, Floyd Mayweather Jr., undefeated. He beats Manny Pacquiao. And I had Floyd winning the first time. This fight showed me how damn good Floyd is, for one. But secondly, what it showed me is there's no reason for Floyd to fight him. No reason. He has everything to lose and nothing to gain if he fought Manny Pacquiao again. And now Floyd approaches everything with a very cerebral approach, business-like. He has to weigh out his options. Where does he benefit? The risk-reward. He's very into precise and strategic plans. The Conor McGregor fight, he knew was going to be a huge money fight, and it was a good win for him. And it would be, he's topical again. He's on top of the world. It was an easy boxing match because you have an MMA guy who's never boxed before. He knows he wouldn't win in the octagon. That's not even a question. But he knows inside of his world he would win, and he can get a ton of money for it. The biggest fight ever. He's very smart. He fought Manny Pacquiao when he wasn't in his prime. He's very smart. There's nothing for him to gain besides a big paycheck. And that may be enough to convince Floyd. Maybe if this fight happens, it's because Floyd wants the paycheck. And we can get into who wins the rematch, but he would fight just because of the paycheck. But I want to make one thing clear. He's already won the first fight. He is 50-0. He has money beyond belief. He has, and I think he spends kind of aggressively here, but it's not a secret. He's just very flamboyant with it. He flashes off his money. He has jets to fly his luggage. He has too much money. So unless the deal is just absurd, where he gets just a stupid amount of money, why fight Manny Pacquiao again? You've already beat him. You're 50-0, and you have generational wealth beyond generational wealth. What would be the purpose for Floyd Mayweather to fight Manny Pacquiao again? I don't think it makes sense, especially from Floyd's perspective. He's not a I'll fight you anywhere, anytime type of guy. He's the let me think about when I should fight someone, why I should fight someone, and the risk reward. And it's very smart. He's 50-0. You can't blame the guy. But based off of his history, why would he fight Manny Pacquiao again? It would just be a huge payday. And I wouldn't blame him for it. I just don't think it's probable, and I don't think it's likely. I would bet my money that they never have a rematch. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, if they were to fight again, of course I'm watching. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Excuse me. I think the like I said, has to be a big payday, and Floyd has to know he's going to win. And I would give my edge to Floyd. But for all these people thinking, oh, this sets up the rematch, I just would pump the brakes on that. I just want to pump the brakes on that a little bit. Because it's not guaranteed, just because Manny Pacquiao wins, that Floyd's all of a sudden going to say, okay, let me fight you right now. He has no reason to. Absolutely no reason to. Okay, I want to transition to the UFC. So we're talking about combat sports. And, gosh, we have Max Holloway, UFC 240, fighting this weekend against Frankie Edgar. I've had Felicia Spencer on this podcast, and she's the co-main event against Chris Cyborg. And I said, do not count out Felicia Spencer. She can shock the world. She can shock the world. It's so interesting to see how stars that, like Chris Cyborg, who seemed unbeatable, invincible, how do they bounce back? We've seen like these true champions, these true just unbelievable talents just not able to bounce back once that aura of invincibility is no longer there. But we've seen these champions also bounce back and become better than they ever were. A la George St. Pierre, when he lost to Matt Serra. Just devastating. One of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest upset in MMA history. He comes back a GSP 2.0. And he looks better than he's ever looked. But then I mentioned Ronda Rousey. She loses to Holly Holmes the head kick And it's like, oh, she got exposed. She got exposed. When she can't bum rush someone, get in the clinch and use her judo. And you get a striker who's experienced, who understands distance and knows how to really be patient and work from the outside. It exposed her. And she was never the same. She fought Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes blasted her, and she was never the same. She never won again. I'm interested to see how Chris Cyborg responds, because she's the favorite. I understand. But if she doesn't understand right, that's why I'm saying Felicia Spencer can shock the world. Now, I love Chris Cyborg, and she may respond like the Chris Cyborg we know. But I'm telling you right now, do not count out Felicia Spencer. And we have the main event, Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. And I want people to understand this very clearly. Now, most general MMA fans who just, they watch it when they know a name. They may not be obsessed with it like I am. They may not watch every single fight or understand the statistics or the legacies and the history. A lot of people know Max Holloway because he's very interactive with the media. He's a very nice guy. He's very funny, very relatable. He's always talking about his son. He's a great father, great fighter, tried to win 2 belts. Conor McGregor and Khabib are the 2 people you can ask any guy on the street, any woman on the street. They know those guys. Even if they don't watch MMA, they know them. Max Holloway may not be a household name yet to the general public. And if you're watching this, if this is your first time listening to my podcast, and you're starting to get into MMA, I would seriously encourage you to look into Max Holloway. Because Max Holloway is a stud. He's absolutely amazing. And I think he's one of the most underrated fighters the UFC's ever seen. Now, he moved up a weight class. He's coming off a loss. I think he was on like a 10-plus winning streak. But he moved up a weight class and challenged Dustin Poirier, who is for the interim lightweight championship. Dustin Poirier is a big lightweight now. And they had a 5-round war. And Dustin Poirier won. But Max Holloway beat who was undefeated for like 10 years before Conor knocked him out, Jose Aldo, 2 times in a row. He's ran through the division. He beat Brian Ortega. And he is a dude that will fight you anywhere, anytime, any place. It does not matter. He has a chin. He has hands. He can grapple. He has conditioning. And he doesn't care if you're a heavyweight, if you're a lightweight, if you're a middleweight, he will fight you. So Max Holloway is an all-timer. All-timer. And if you don't know him or if you haven't heard of him, look into Max Holloway. And if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Max Holloway will beat Frankie Edgar. He will beat Frank. That's actually one of my other questions here. I'm supposed to get to these questions later in the show, but I'm just kind of answering them as I go along here. Who do you think is going to win, Max Holloway or Frankie Edgar at UFC 240? And it's Max Holloway. The only thing I'm debating is whether or not it's a decision or if it's just if he finishes him. I see a TKO in round 3 for Max Holloway because Frankie Edgar's a stud too. He's unbelievable. He's a heart of a champion. He is a champion, former champion. And this is his attempt to win 2 belts in 2 different weight classes, not simultaneously, but over the course of his career. Great wrestler, great guy, great chin, great boxing, great distance, great cardio. Frankie Edgar is no joke, but that's how high I am with Max Holloway. Max Holloway will beat Frankie Edgar, and if I had to predict a way, I would say 3rd round TKO. I think Max Holloway's timing and his distance, and he'll have the reach. And after fighting someone as big as Dustin Poirier, Frankie Edgar is much smaller. Max Holloway will utilize this and capitalize this advantage, and I think he TKOs Frankie Edgar in the 3rd round. Now, if it's a decision, I'm not surprised, but I would bet my money on the 3rd round. And he is an all-timer. And I'm about to get into the tiers and where I rank him, but he's an all-timer. So going into UFC 240, I think he bounces back off this loss and just has the performance of the night. And Max Holloway will show why he's a true legend. And it will just open up so many different possibilities for him after he beats Frankie Edgar. Does he fight Conor? Does Conor ever go back to featherweight? I don't think he does. But, I mean, it's an opportunity. It's certainly an opportunity. Does he fight Brian Ortega? There's a couple guys in line. So it's interesting. But Max Holloway's my guy. UFC 240, TKO round 3. Shifting gears here. Okay, so this is what I wanted to. And so I want to get into. So I have these tiers, right? So I see these tiers where NBA players, I've seen a couple NFL players, specifically like there's positions, and tier 1 is the elite of the elite. It's who's the best. Tier 2 is, well, I guess it depends on the sport. So let me break it down to you to my tiers in the NBA. So going into the 2019-2020 NBA season, I created my tiers. And think about like a pyramid. And LeBron James, so tier 1 I have is the best in the league. Now, if it could be one person, at one point my tier 1 was just LeBron James. But now it's gotten to the point where there's a debate if he's the best in the world. I think he is. I truly think he is. And I think this year he's going to prove it. But a lot of people think Kawhi Leonard. A lot of people thought before Kevin Durant's injury, Kevin Durant. So my tier 1 of the best is now LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Kevin Durant. And that may change throughout the season. Like I said, I think LeBron James will prevail as the best. But that's my tier 1. Tier 2, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, James Harden, and Anthony Davis. And now tier 3 is the Russell Westbrook, the Kyrie Irving, the Paul George, the Jimmy Butler, the Joel Embiid, the Damian Lillard, the Ben Simmons, the Klay Thompson. Those guys are my tier 4. And then you have the rest of the league, and of course some are better than others. But those are like the top tier guys. And it's interesting to see who moves up and who jumps. Who jumps, who goes down a tier, who moves up a tier. So that's my major 4 tiers going into the next NBA season. I have LeBron James staying in tier 1. And I think those other guys may be able to stay up there because it may be a debate. I think LeBron James stays there. I don't think Giannis jumps up a tier yet unless he wins a championship. But I'll tell you one person who could fall to tier 3. And now this is going to shock you. This is absolutely going to shock you because tier 2, I say, you could build your franchise around these guys. Just because you're not the best in the world doesn't mean you can't build your franchise around these guys. Steph Curry, come on now. At one point, he was tier 1. Giannis, James Harden, Anthony Davis. Now, you prefer LeBron. You prefer Kawhi Leonard. You prefer Kevin Durant. But if you get these guys and you build around them, you can win a championship. Steph Curry, you can win a championship. Giannis, he's younger, but he could win a championship as the best guy. He just needs the right people around him, needs more experience. Anthony Davis. James Harden, if he does not win this year with Russell Westbrook, I believe falls to tier 3. Yes, he can give me 36 a game. Yes, I understand he's a stat monster. Yes, I understand he breaks records. Yes, I understand it all. I just don't. I think he falls to tier 3. I think James Harden, if he loses this year, and by losing, I mean he doesn't win a championship, which I don't think he does. If he doesn't go to the Western Conference Finals with this team, I think he drops to tier. He has an opportunity to drop to tier 3. And that's still amazing. Those are still the best people in the world. Those are Westbrooks. Those are the Kyries. Those are the Paul George. But maybe he's not the one guy that you need to win a championship with. Because last year was his opportunity when Steph Curry was kind of banged up and then Kevin Durant was out and you just had Klay Thompson and a damaged Boogie and aging Iguodala and you were supposed to win that series and you didn't. You were up 3-2 and you didn't. If he doesn't win with Russell Westbrook, he could fall to tier 3. Because now the West is open. Yes, I think it's the Lakers. Yes, I think it's the Clippers. A lot of people think the Rockets are right up there with the Lakers and the Clippers. He could fall to tier 3. How many opportunities do we give this guy as the number 1 option? Like I said, it's okay if you don't win a championship. Not everyone wins a championship. But those tier 2 guys will win a championship or have won a championship. Giannis will win a championship. Anthony Davis will win a championship. He's out with the Lakers and LeBron. And Steph Curry's won a championship. He's won 3 championships. So do we count James Harden on that level if he never wins? I just think it's interesting. I think James Harden has an opportunity to step back a little bit. That being said, I want to do the first ever UFC tier. And it's hard. With basketball, there's so many things to take into account. The teams, the location, how young are they? Was it their fault that they lost the series because that team was stacked, but they played great? With MMA, besides the weight class part, does that guy beat that guy? It's much easier. Put one guy in the octagon. It's not a team sport. I want to see John Jones and Daniel Cormier fight. I want to see Conor versus Habib fight. Oh, Habib won. It's like, okay, he's the better man. Like, there's no beating around the bush with MMA. Unless they haven't fought, it's speculation. You have to compare the legacies. It's different. With all greats in any sport, you have to nitpick a little bit. But I created these tiers for the UFC. And my tier 1 is the greatest. Who's the best? My tier 2 is the elite of the elite. Tier 3 is those contenders who are great, but they're not tier 2. And then tier 4, the young you'll see. All right, so tier 1, I have John Jones. John Jones is the greatest MMA fighter I have ever seen step foot inside the octagon. He's never lost. He is absolutely unbelievable. He beats the best at what they're the best at. No, we've never seen anyone like John Jones. We probably never will. John Jones, tier 1 by himself. He stands out. Now, my tier 2 is Habib Nurmagomedov, 27-0. Lightweight champion, the elite of the elite. The best wrestling we may have ever seen inside the octagon. I have Daniel Cormier, the champ. The only person he's ever lost to is John Jones. He demolishes everybody else. He beat the most decorated heavyweight champion in Stipe Miocic. He beats everybody else besides John Jones. He's in my tier 2. I have Conor McGregor, because people think he's just hype. Conor McGregor was the first ever to hold 2 belts simultaneously. He fought in 3 different weight classes in the UFC. He beat Jose Aldo, who's undefeated for 10 years, in under 13 seconds. He's beaten Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight championship in the first ever fight in Madison Square Garden. He beat Nate Diaz on the welterweight division. And of course, his impact on the sport. And lastly, Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes is the greatest female fighter we've ever seen, and she's the first female fighter to hold 2 belts simultaneously. That's tier 2. My tier 3 is the Max Holloway, the Tony Ferguson, the Robert Whittaker, the Henry Cejudo, Usman, and Stipe, where they're not Habib and DC and Conor and Nunes yet, but they are damn good. They are damn good. Night in and night out, it's hard not to bet my money on these guys. And a lot of them are champions. Holloway's a champion. Ferguson's been a champion. Whittaker, Cejudo, Usman, Stipe, all of them are champions. And they're elite. They're just not the greatest almost ever yet, but they're elite of the elite. My tier 4 is interesting. They're not the tier 3, but they're right there. I think Stylebender, Israel Adesanya is right there of cusping that UFC stardom, where he could be a legend in the making. Woodley, the Poiriers, the Valentina Shevchenko, the Andrade, like, these people have won these championships. They're elite, but they're not the Holloways yet. They're not the Holloways yet. And then lastly, my tier 5 are, now there's a lot of these guys, but these are the ones that stick out to me the most, like the Jorge Masvidal, the quickest knockout ever, hungry, just knocking these guys out. The Francis Ngannou, he can beat anyone at any given time. The Kevin Gaslams, the Covingtons, the Rose, the Joannas. And so these tiers are very interesting. And a lot of people can move up and a lot of people can move down over time. And UFC, these fighters fluctuate so often. One loss can get you to a different tier. One win can cement you into a different tier. Now, Henry Cejudo in tier 3, Cejudo is interesting because he is a champ. He's a gold medal. I think he needs to do more to get to tier 2. You need to do a little bit more. It's who you've beaten. It's how you've beaten them. How long. Your impact on the sport. All of that comes into play into these tiers. So I'm going to say it one more time. My tier 1, John Jones. Tier 2, Habib Nurmagomedov, Daniel Cormier, Conor McGregor, and Amanda Nunes. My tier 3, Max Holloway, Tony Ferguson, Robert Whittaker, Henry Cejudo, Kamaru Usman, and Stipe Miocic. Tier 4, Stylebender, Tyron Woodley, Poirier, Shevchenko, Andrade. Tier 5, Masvidal, Ngannou, Gaslam, Covington, Rose, and Joanna. Those are my tiers in MMA. Those are my tiers, the best of the best of the best. Those are my tiers. Now you can add some people into that tier 5. Those are the ones that stick out to me the most as those title contenders, on a great run, stars in the making. Tier 4 are already stars. Tier 3 are the elite of the elite. Tier 2 are legends. Tier 1 is the greatest of all time, John Jones. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. I'm going to start getting to your questions now. So why are you overlooking the Kings? Do you feel the West has gotten that much better and no one above will fall back? That's a great question. I'm not overlooking the Kings. It's just when I look at the West, I have the Lakers. They're my favorites. I have the Clippers, my co-favorites. I have the Warriors. I like them third. I have the Rockets. I have the Trailblazers. I have the Utah Jazz. I have the Denver Nuggets. I really like the Pelicans with Zion, with Lonzo, with Ingram and Josh Hart and Redick and Favors. What is that, 7? I like the Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Porzingis, and I like the Spurs. The Spurs always find a way to make the playoffs. So it's not necessarily that I'm overlooking the Kings. I just think everyone else got so much better so quickly. And the Kings, I love De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is amazing, and he's one of the best young point guards the league has. I just don't see them making the playoffs with how stacked the West is right now. The West is unbelievably stacked. I mean, the Mavericks probably won't make the playoffs, and they have Porzingis and they have Luka Doncic. I think the Pelicans have a shot of making the playoffs. I've called it before the trade even went down. I think they can sneak into the playoffs. But I think it's definitely up there. They may not make the playoffs. And they have the Zion, who's the generational talent, with the Lonzo Ball and the Brandon Ingram, the Josh Hart and the Holiday and the Redick and the Favors. That team sounds stacked, and they may not make the playoffs. I'm just saying. And then the Trailblazers, like I said, the Spurs are such sleepers. It's like we forget how good that the Spurs just always seem to make the playoffs. They always seem to make the playoffs. They still have DeMar DeRozan. They still have Aldridge. They still have Greg Popovich. The system. San Antonio's consistently great. So I don't think I'm overlooking the Kings. I just think that the West has gotten so much better. I think the West has just gotten so much. Like Utah's a sleeper. Denver's a sleeper. The Rockets got better. The Lakers got better. The Clippers got better. The Warriors may have lost Kevin Durant, but they had one hell of a comeback with getting D'Angelo Russell and signing these guys. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I'm rooting for De'Aaron Fox 100% though. Will Chris Cyborg defeat Felicia Spencer? I'm going to call the upset. I'm going with my girl Felicia Spencer. Had her on the podcast. I think Felicia Spencer is going to beat Chris Cyborg. Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, I answered that one. Max Holloway will win TKO round 3. That's my guy. That's a good one. Will D'Angelo Russell get traded? And if so, to where? Now, I've actually answered this on the other podcast. I think the Warriors will try to hang on to him as long as the fit seems to work. Now, I think they're going to have poor defense on the perimeter. I do think they're going to be extremely talented and dynamic on the offensive end. However, I do think if they were to trade him, it would be for Al Horford in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia 76ers have 2 centers, and they need a wing scorer and shooter. That's exactly what D'Angelo Russell is. And the Warriors could use another big defensively experienced, can stretch the floor, and a great locker room guy, and that's an Al Horford. Are you happy that Zion Williamson signed with Jordan? Should he have signed with Nike? No. I'm perfectly happy. Whenever I get to see such a young talent get paid and live their dreams, I'm extremely happy. So no, if he were to sign with Under Armour, Reebok, Nike, I'm happy for the guy. So whatever he decided he wants to do, that's completely up to Zion Williamson. Whatever makes the man happy, and he deserves every penny of it. I think it's a great fit. I think him and Jordan are awesome. Obviously, Michael Jordan is like the GOAT, so I said because I go with LeBron James for those first watching. I think Zion Williamson's going to just boost sales right through the roof. So Zion is on the path to success and greatness on the NBA scale now. He's dominated high school. He's dominated college. He's on his way to the NBA path. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, this is available on any podcast platform. 5 stars, subscribe, tell a friend. The Max Van Auken Podcast. Call it the MVP. Call it whatever you want. Also available on YouTube if you're listening to this via podcast. Max Van Auken. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And tell a friend. Keep sending those questions. I'm on any social media platform. Ask away. I will get to them. There's a ton of sports going on, so I'll come up with a couple more episodes probably this week. I appreciate you guys. And peace.